Hello and welcome to Nanapod, a podcast dedicated to the fantastic manga written by A. Yazawa. I'm Crystal, and I'm joined by my best girl Kirsten as we dissect this manga, discussing everything from the emotions, the cultural impact, as well as any headcanons that might be floating around in our brains. With this podcast, we hope to preserve a shoujo staple that sadly hasn't been talked about in a very long time. So come with us. We're waiting for you in apartment 707.
Alright guys, welcome to Nanapod, and we are starting volume 15 here. But before we get into that, we will just kind of read the story of Nana. That's like the story so far. So, Nana Hachi Komatsu and Nana Osaki meet by chance on a train headed for Tokyo. Their personalities and environments they grew up in are very different, but by fate or by chance, they meet again and become roommates. At Shin and Rira's birthday party, Nana and Hachi finally get together and talk. Then Blast goes on tour. In Osaka, Nana gets a fan letter from a girl named Misato Uehara. On November 10th, the day Hachi and Takumi were supposed to get married, Takumi takes the day off to stay at home with Hachi. Meanwhile, Ren and Rira, burdened with feelings they can no longer contain, go visit their hometown together. Okay, that phrase right there makes it sound like they're having an affair. And once again, maybe that's why people thought stuff was going on that wasn't going on. Yuri ditches work and goes missing, then suddenly shows up in one of the hotels Blast is crashing at on tour. Nobu now knows everything and encourages Yuri to go back to work. At the same time in the hotel, Yasu has breakfast with Miyu, who came to pick Yuri up to take her home. Seeing those two together really bums Nana out. Oh, that language. Nana makes arrangements to officially register her marriage with Ren when Blast returns to Tokyo. But while still on tour, Nana gets slipped a shocking photo of Ren and Rira. Dun dun dun! And we have a picture here of, I believe it's sake, called Demon Lord. And we've got the narrations here. And it says, that day when I came home from cleaning apartment 707, there was a present waiting for me from Nana, who was out on tour. It was hilarious. The name of the shochu was crazy. I wanted Takumi to drink it with me, so I was ready to stay up all night waiting for him to come home. So sad, Hachi. And yeah, here we are on chapter 54. And there's a postcard with a little drawing of a dog that is pregnant and is saying bow wow, and a drawing down at the bottom of like Nana with cat ears on a plane, and it says punks on tour. And the picture on the front here is from Fukuoka Tower. And it says, Dear Hachiko, how are you? What have you been up to since we last talked? I found this in Kyushu and just had to send it. Apparently, it's a famous sake here. It's great, heart. But maybe you shouldn't drink it while you're preggers. The early thousands, we did say shit like that. Bummer for you, heart. Take care and don't give in to your Yakuza husband. Love, Nana. And Hachi is just smiling, and she's thinking, Nana sounds like she's doing good. Haha, heart. When Nana's happy, it makes me happy too. I keep reading this over and over, heart. And then we have the think boxes saying, Hey Nana, even when we're apart, you're always in my heart. I can hear you singing, inspiring me, with those intense eyes and that fearless gaze. And now we have a scene change to that photo that was sent to Nana. You're going to hear a lot of construction outside, by the way. I just thought I'd mention that now. They're fixing the roof next door, so you're going to hear that. Anyway, and it says, "Hey Nana, can you hear me too?" And Yasu is just holding Nana while she's crying. And he says, "Nana, don't be fooled by how it looks. Just believe in the Ren that you know." And now she's yelling. She's like, "Shut up, let me go." And she shoves him away. And he looks very worried. And she just kind of crumples into herself on her arms. And he says, "This photo's meant to rile you up. It's only incriminating if you take it the wrong way." And he's putting the lid back on to the box. And he says, "Search doesn't want you and Ren to get married and be happy. Happiness doesn't sell. They're just trying to break you guys up. Don't fall into their trap. I know Ren wouldn't betray you like this." And she says, "Shut up. I know." And he looks kind of worried. Except she doesn't know. That's the thing, is that if she did actually know, she wouldn't be crying. And so Yasu asks that, like, "Then why are you crying?" And she said, "You made me cry." And she's turned back and yelling, and he looks at her like, "Huh?" And then she says, kind of seriously, like, "Don't be so nice to me anymore. If you don't want to betray Ren, then don't invade my heart anymore." Okay. I'm going to get through this part, and then I think I'm going to have some commentary. So, Yasu just gives her this look, and then she drops her head, and he turns away, and he's like, "All right, then don't cry in front of me anymore." I wonder if he says this in the original. But I mean, Nana's heart was changing because she felt betrayed, you know? But at the same time, it's like, Nana, you were choosing to move your heart from Ren to Yasu because Yasu is a sure thing. But then you strung him along. Like I said the last time, you were stringing him along and you didn't commit to anything. Again, as Melissa said, she likes the idea of Yasu, but now it's messy. And now her eyes are very blank. And she stands up to leave, like, "Don't cry in front of me anymore." Very kind of dramatic stand-up dash. And she bangs her leg on the end of the table, and then she's like, "Ouch!" And he looks back like, "Oh dear." And he's like, "Are you all right?" She's like, "I'm fine. Leave me alone." And now he's smiling, and she's still got an angry tick, and she's like, "Yasu, don't tell Ren I saw that photo." And he says, "But it's gonna be in this week's search." And her eyes are blank again, and she's like, "So Ren will just laugh and make excuses, and I'll laugh and say, 'How stupid.' And that's it. Telling him will just create more drama than it's worth." And now he's almost, it almost looks like his brows are slightly furrowed in like the "I don't like this whole non-communication" thing, but he says, "All right." And now we have kind of a scene change here, and there's a ring of a phone, and it's Takumi's phone, and it says Baldy on the caller ID, and there's a vroom of a car, and he picks it up, and he's like, "Hello?" And Yasu says, "Takumi, Search took photos of Ren and Rira together." And Takumi's like, "How'd you know about it?" And then there's a ... And he's like, "I heard it from a reporter I know." "So you knew about it?" And Takumi says, "Search called us and told us ahead of time that it's going to be in this week's issue. So we're going to go raid their office." And Narika is in the back with Takumi, the back of the car with Takumi, and now he's shouting. He's like, "Don't tell them." And Takumi's like, I was just kidding. And he's like, I mean, who is this guy? Who knows about it? And he's like, it's all right. Calm down. And Narika says, how am I supposed to calm down? Why's she gotta go sing a song about a married man? God damn it. I think he's talking about Rira singing one of their love ballads. No, Takumi's got kind of the stress lines, and he's like, well, what's done is done, but thanks for calling to let me know. And Yasu's got stress lines, and he's like, wait a minute, what does Ren have to say about it? He didn't really get with Rira, did he? Maybe if he was high, ... And Takumi's like, I don't know. Our manager went to find out what happened. At any rate, when that photo goes public, Ren's reputation is going to tank. And after such a good run. And people really like Nana now, so Rira won't fare too well either. And Yasu says, but Search is making a big deal about the fact that Nana and Ren aren't officially married yet. They even went to ask Morioka about it. Takumi says, what? And Yasu says, Search is making Blast out to be the bad guys. Takumi says, so what do you want me to do about it? Yasu says, they'll probably say the engagement was just a publicity stunt. It's obvious their marriage has something to do with band biz. If you make it seem like Ren and Rira really got together, it'd make more sense. Okay, interesting ploy, Yasu. And then Takumi's like, oh, that scenario's definitely more interesting. Well, you're pretty evil yourself for thinking up something like that. You really are a covert mafia don. And Yasu's like, shut up. If you're so Yakuza, do something about it. They just took the photos last night. They're going to force this into the magazine, so even if we try to stop them, there'll be a problem. And Takumi says, well, I don't care about Search's problems. And Yasu says, so it's possible you can stop them from publishing it? And Takumi says, yeah, but even if we stop them this time, I'm sure they'll still write about the engagement being faked. We need them to get married ASAP. And Yasu says, Nana says the beginning of next week, and Gaia's looking for a place for them to live. Takumi says, well, that's good. And Yasu says, I'm counting on you. If we can shake them off this time, things will be all right. And Takumi says, I was going to put a stop to this anyway, whether you asked me to or not. If not, we're all screwed. That's it. And then he hangs up the phone. And Narita's looking over at him like, what do you mean we're all screwed? And he says, what are you going to do, Takumi? They're saying no amount of money can stop them. And Takumi says, then we'll negotiate with something else. And Narita says, but we don't have anything to bargain with. This scandal's too big. There's nothing we could do. And Takumi is not saying anything, but he's thinking. His eyes are very, thinking. And we have a scene change. And Ren and Rira are being shown the photos. And their assistant is like, well, I know how it is. I know you two were close. It makes sense to me. But with these photos, you won't be able to make any excuses to the public. You know your celebrity status. You have to watch everything you say and do. And Ren and Rira are just looking real sad. And he goes on to say, well, anyway, the president is dealing with it, so let's wait for him to get back to us. And I want you guys to do what he says. And Ren says, yes, I'm sorry for making such a mess for everyone. And Rira looks over at him with a sweat bead, and she's like, but Ren didn't do anything wrong. And he's like, Rira, just apologize. And she's like, Ren took me to a place where I could breathe. You guys don't understand. Our lives are really stressful. And she's not wrong about that. But the two assistants the male is just kind of looking down like, I mean, I understand what like's a thing, but Mari, I think that's the other assistant's name, she's just looking at her like, oh, I didn't realize. And Rira has tears in her eyes, and she's like, people we don't even know criticize us all the time. We're never allowed to make any mistakes. And now we're not allowed to even stick up for ourselves because we're told that's the price for being famous. We're not allowed to be like everyone else, to be human. And Mari looks really sad. And Rira is continuing, and she says, all we can do is support each other and do our best. What's so wrong about that? Why can't we do that? And Ren just kind of pats her on the head, and he's like, Rira, I know what you mean, but don't take it out on them. They're there. And she's sobbing and going snip, snip, and she's like, I'm sorry. And Mari's got tears in her eyes. And there's a scene change, and there's a click as coffee cup is set down, and it's Narita, and he says, Takumi, don't you have any gossip you can sell them? You have lots of girls besides your fiancé, right? And Takumi says, but even if we break down their door, they won't take it. It's not enough. And Narita says, it depends on who the girl is. If it's another celebrity, that's hot gossip. And Takumi's thinking about one of the last girls that he slept with, who was like, I'm going to star in a primetime series in January. Isn't that great? And then Takumi says, Narita. And there's another clink of the coffee cup, and he's like, please just drop it. So I think that's interesting that he was actually thinking of this other girl, and the fact that if he did spill something like that, it would ruin her career, and he's like, nah, I'm good. And he says, I'll figure out what to do when we see how they react. You asked for my help, so we're going to do it my way. And Narita's like, all right. And then there's a knock knock, and here's the greasy mosquito man. There's a creak of a door, and he's got like just like a shit-eating grin on his face, and he's like, sorry to keep you waiting, we're busy on deadline. And Takumi stands up like all shiny and says, shup, and he's like, not at all, sorry to bother you when you're so busy. And Narita looks up at him like, what is he doing? And there's a flick of the lighter as the greasy mosquito guy sits down, and he's like, I'm surprised that even Mr. Takumi came to us, Hart. What does this have to do with you? And his the other guy who's younger than him, but's his boss, whose name I can't recall at the moment, says, Kudo, don't be a jerk. And now Takumi's got a little fishing lure at the top of his head with a fish on it that has a little heart, and he's thinking, he's taking the bait. This might be easy. And Narita's like, Takumi's the band leader, manager, and producer, so you're dealing with him. And Takumi's got the wide eyes like, oh god. And the greasy mosquito guy's like, I know. Well, he's young, but totally in control. And other greasy man is like, so, what can we do for you today? And Narita's like, oh, come on. We came to tell you not to print those photos. And Takumi's looking at him with a sweat bead like, bro, just chill. And greasy mosquito guy's like, well, that's why we told you ahead of time. And that's that. And Takumi, just looking so pleading, is like, but sir, I'm begging you to reconsider. Please don't let those photos go to print. And he's bowing. And Narita's looking at him like, oh my god, he's being so sincere right now. And the other two mosquitoes are looking at him like, is this a crack in his persona? And I'm like, guys, you don't even know. Takumi the war poodle. Takumi the Yakuza. And Takumi's like, Ren and Rira are just close friends, like brother and sister. If those photos go public, it'll hurt both of them, Nana, and all our fans. Everyone loses. And now Narita's got a look on his face like, what's he playing at? And he bows again, and he's like, please, please don't print that story. I'm begging you. And the two mosquitoes have just dots. And then the greasy mosquito guy with the sweat bead is like, well, you can beg all you want. And he's thinking, what's his deal? He's totally different than I thought. Ugh. Falling for it. Takumi, I love you. You're a bad boy. I love you. Younger mosquito greasy is like, Takumi, I certainly understand, but we have work to do. And Takumi looks up, and he's almost got like a look that Hachiko gets when she's really like stressed and worried, and he's like, then what are we going to do? And they have dots again and the sweat beads, and Takumi's like, sorry, I just don't know what to do at times like these. And Narita's like, oh no, look, Takumi's an incredibly talented musician, but he's a little ignorant about the ways of the world. You know artists, heart. And it's like, okay, Narita's not being as stupid as he looks in this moment, even though the guy's an absolute moron. Greasy Mosquito guy is like, well, you guys are super popular, but it's only been 3 years since you hit the scene. God damn it. Younger Greasy Mosquito was like, but Mr. Narita, you've been in the biz long enough to know that begging and crying won't get you anywhere. And Narita's like, but I told you we'll pay. And Greasy Mosquito's got an angry tick, and he's like, we don't want your money. Who do you think we are? But younger Greasy Mosquito has like, he's touching his glasses with a star, and he's like, well, how much are you willing to pay? And Greasy Mosquito's like, wait a minute. And the other guy's got the dots. And Greasy Mosquito was like, Mr. Takumi, you're an adult, so you have to learn to negotiate like one. You won't survive in the biz if you act like a kid. And Takumi's like, what do you mean by negotiate? And younger Greasy Mosquito was like, well, like offer us naked photos of sweet little Rira for a centerfold instead, which, gross. And Takumi is thinking in his head with all these little skulls behind him, he's like, I'm gonna kill him. And you know what? Absolutely, Takumi, because that's yucky. And Narita stands up and he's like, there's no way Rira's doing that. What the hell? And the Greasy Mosquito's like, you know that's not going to happen? Think of something more doable. Sweet little Rira? And now the guy's got like the almost like embarrassed blush lines, and he's like, it was just an example. Well, a fantasy, actually. And I'm like, yeah, you would. Sir, you would. And then Takumi puts his hand to his head, and he's like, I just can't think of anything we can offer you in exchange. What am I going to do? And Greasy Mosquito's like, oh, really? You're a hot young thing. Everyone says you're a total player. You're a hot young thing, Takumi. I mean, you are. But the way he says that, I'm like, gross. That's just as predatory as saying it to a girl. But Takumi looks up and he's like, that's not true. It's totally true, but he's doing a bit. And Narita looks over at him with the dots like, it is true though, but he's keeping his mouth shut. And Greasy Mosquito's like, but we've never been able to get any proof. We're pulling our hair out on that one. And younger Greasy Mosquito's like, you must be an expert in covert operations, lucky dog. And Takumi, all the sparkles behind his head, all the sparkles. No, I'm just a regular guy. I stick to my lady, even if I don't look like it. And Narita's got the lines like, you're such a fucking liar. And then Greasy Mosquito was like, oh, so you don't have a girlfriend? She must be very special. And Takumi looks at him like, oh no, he's got onto me. And then the Greasy Mosquito is looking at him with a smile like, gotcha. And he's like, Takumi, if you work with us to do a tell-all on that. We won't print the other story. So what do you think? Are you willing to sacrifice yourself and the woman you love to save your band? Takumi has just got all this poker face. And now he drops it. He drops his, oh God, oh no, what am I gonna do? And he gives him just the gotcha bitch smile. And now the greasy mosquito looks at him like, the fuck did I just say? What did I just do? And then the other greasy mosquito was also looking like, what just happened? And Kumi's like, all right, thank you. It's a done deal. I love it. I love it. It's so underhanded. I mean, Takumi doesn't really talk very much during interviews, so it's not like they really knew him. So, well played, Takumi. But we always knew, like, Takumi's good. He's so good. There's a scene change, and there's a ring of the phone, and the assistant picks it up, and he's like, hello? What? Yes. Really? Sure. Thank you so much. And then he turns around to the room, and he's like, that was the president. They got the article squashed. It's not going public. And Rira and Ren look stunned, and Mari is like, just looks very relieved. And Ren's like, huh? How? Rira's face is like, oh! With her mouth open. And he's like, Search took the money. It's all over. And he's like, money? How much did they shell out? Does that mean pay cuts for us? Ren, listen. And then the assistant's like, let's have a drink to celebrate. And Ren's like, there's nothing to celebrate. And Rira looks over because Mari is just, she is fully sobbing. And the assistant like, it's all right, heart. And then Ren's like, Mari, why are you crying? And not in my arms. Ren, stop. And Rira's got the dots, and Mari's like, sorry, I'm just happy that... And she just trails off, because she's thinking about Rira saying our lives are really stressful. And Rira's thinking about the fact that she said that, and is like, oh God, I stressed her out. So she rushes over, and she holds Mari, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for all your help. And the other assistant and Ren clink beers. And now there's a scene change, and our other assistant, the one that drives him everywhere, the one that hates Takumi, is like, well, I'm just glad it all worked out. Takumi, when you say you'll do it, you really take care of business. Much respect. Except now, Ren did tell him that he needed to get on board with liking Takumi or to step off. And Narita's like, you should have seen it, Heart. Takumi's an award-winning actor. And the assistant is just busting up laughing. And Takumi's like, Kinoshita, don't you tell anyone about this. Narita, you talk too much. And Kinoshita's like, of course, I won't tell a soul. And Narita's like, well, even though it was just a good act, you got me all emo, Heart. Whoever is writing this particular episode, it just was like, what's all the hot lingo that the kids got? Ah, yes, we got the biz, we got the all emo, we got Preggers, it's all here, guys. And then Takumi is like, what about? I wish I could be happy-go-lucky. And Narita's like, everyone loses. Please, please, don't print that story. You're good. You're good. And Takumi's just got this, like, just like, okay, smile on, and then he's like, I know. And we have a scene change back to Takumi and Hachi's apartment, and he sees the Saochu Demon Lord brand with the cup and the postcard, and he pops it and it goes glug glug, and he's reading the postcard that Nana sent, and he's reading specifically the Yakuza husband, and he's like, Yakuza? And then he sets it down with a clink, and Hachi's on the bed, and she is just fast asleep. And he turns over to look, and she wakes up, and he starts, like, snuggling her. And she's like, hey, welcome home. And then she goes, achoo! And then he looks at her like, a chew? What do you mean a chew? So he goes and gets a thermometer and takes her temperature, and it says 98.8. It's like, she's not even a little high. Like, body runs 98.6 to Kumi. She's fine. But he's just like, well, you don't have a fever, but your temperature's a little high. It's literally 2 degrees. It's probably because she is in all of her bathrobes and stuff, and she's just laying here. Like, she's fine. And he's like, maybe because you're pregnant? And she's like, I'm fine, don't worry so much. But he's like got an ice pack on her head. And it's cute. It's actually cute that he's very worried about his pregnant almost wife. And he's like, you shouldn't fall asleep in here anymore, all right? She's like, all right. And he's like, all right then, so let's go. And he pulls her up, and she's like, go where? And she's thinking about the time, and it's like 2:23 in the morning. And he's like, to the courthouse, heart. And she's like, what? And he's just smiling at her. And then he just hugs her, and she's got the star eyes, the stupid star eyes, like, oh! And he's like, the agency said it was okay now. Let's get married. And then her eyes get big. And now they're driving away with a vroom with all of these flowers, and she's thinking, what? And then in the car, he explains everything. And she's like, what? Search found out about us? So what now? Armageddon? And there's a kaboom and lightning in the background. And they're wearing disguises, by the way. She's wearing a bucket hat, and he's got his head piled under like that Irish like bill cap. And she's like, how did they find out? And he's like, I don't know. Someone must have ratted us out. Oh, he's fully lying. But, you know, he's got to make her believe it so it looks believable. And he's like, maybe it was Naoki? I bet it was him. He's just jealous of us. And now she's got all the stress lines, and she's like, it's 'cause I went to that party. I'm so sorry. And he's like, don't worry about it. I was going to announce it to the press anyway. It's impossible to hide everything all the time. And she's like, but it might shock the fans. So now we can get married just 'cause Search found out? And he's like, I think the fans should be happy that I'm happy. What do they expect me to just jack off by myself? Takumi? Don't be like that. And now she's got the dots and the sweat bead. And he says, if we lose popularity points, fine. I want people to like us for our music. It's better that way. And she just looks over at him. And then she's like, well, even if the fans freak out, I'm sure they'll still listen to your music. The music stands on its own. It'll be all right. And he just has this very gentle smile because she's, you know, she's a fan herself, and it's very sweet. And he says, so we had to talk with Search. It'll be in next week's issue. I can't just let them write anything they want. So I'm going to do an interview and try to get them to write a decent article. And she's like, oh, then you must be a little relieved. Good thing you found out ahead of time. And he's like, yeah, but Search insists on getting a photo of us together. And there's a pause, and then stress lines, mouth wide open with it says gape. And she's like, what? Of you and me together? And he's like, they just want a photo of us walking around together, but it'll be a setup. And now she's freaking out, and her eyes are spirals, and she's like, my face is going to be in that magazine, and no way. And she's thinking about the magazine, and like a picture of them together walking, and then like another picture of her face, and it looks really big and wide because that's what she's worried about. And it says, Takumi from Trap Nest, shotgun wedding, Takumi to wed, chubby cheeked Mrs. N 20. She's like, no! And he's like, well, you're not a celebrity, so they'll probably black out your eyes. People won't know it's you. Don't worry. And now she's got an eye block around her eyes, and she's like, oh, with the dots. And he's like, but then I worry about that too. It makes you look like a criminal. But what can we do? And she's still stressing, and she's like, well, my silhouette will be public. I have to lose weight. And he's like, that's what you're worried about? And she's like, when are we shooting the photos? And he's like, I'm not sure yet, but sometime this week. And she's like, give me 3 days. I won't eat anything and lose 6 pounds. And he's like, don't do that. Sachiko will starve. And she's like, but what can I do? I'll be the laughing stock of... And then he just trails off, and he says, I'm sorry. Like, pretty sincerely. And she's got the, huh? And then she looks over and she's like, no, I guess it's all right, Takumi. You just sprang it on me so suddenly I freaked out. I'll be fine. Heart. And then he's like, when we go public, there might be things you won't be happy about. But it's better than hiding out like this. We should go out more together on my days off and go wherever you want. And she's just staring at him. And he continues and says, and after the baby's born, we'll all go out together. I want to take the baby to the zoo and amusement parks, things normal people do. I didn't get to do things like that, so I can only imagine the stereotypical things. And she's just pausing, letting him talk, and he's like Parents' Day at school. And she's got the dots. I think she's in her head at the moment. And he's like, parents videotaping their kids at soccer games, or playing catch with your kid in the park. And this is so sad. This is just so fucking sad. But I'm glad that he's telling her this. And he says, I want to do everything a normal parent would do. And she's got the tears in her eyes, and she's like, Takumi, that's actually more than a lot of fathers do. And she's not wrong. Even though she had a really good childhood. The fact that she knows that's important. And he's still talking, and he says, well, hopefully I'll have time for things like that. So maybe it won't be like that. And then she smiles like, okay. At least you're being realistic. And now we got the think boxes, and it says, that's all right. That's what most fathers are like. And I'll try to be a good mother who never even catches a cold. That's impossible, Hachi, but okay. So let's just try to make a happy family. Heart. And now they're at the registry, says after hours desk. And she's like, it feels weird that you can get married just by submitting some document, and so late at night. And her heart is going thump thump. And it says, this isn't very glamorous. And Takumi's like, so how's my disguise? I can't tell. And she's like, I think it's good, but you don't have to worry about that anymore, right? And he's like, well, but we're Search's hot gossip, so we can't let anyone else catch us and print it first. So be careful if it comes out. And she's like, oh, then maybe we should get married next week instead. And he's just got like a little singing note above his head, and he's like, if we register in secret, no one should find out within just a week. I never made my real name public, heart. And she's like, you're so impatient. You can't wait a week? That's what I usually do. She thinks with the blushies and the sweat drops. It's like, yeah, that's why you guys are actually perfectly suited. And he's like, well, it's because I told Search we're already married. And she's like, what? You told them? And he's just smiling and he's like, I told them, so there's no way to back out. And so the president has to say yes to the big mouth wins heart. And she's got this look like, and he's like, if we miss this opportunity, I don't know when it'll happen. Don't you think you've had enough false starts? And now she's got like stress blush and is just like, opportunity? I mean, this is the biggest upset of all, she's thinking. Because I was ready to wait 7 years. And he's like, it's closed. The lights are off. And she's like, so this is it? And the think boxes are like, I've dreamed about my wedding day since I was young. I had no patience. And Takumi looks over, just looking at where they can drop stuff off. And she's like, is this the right place? And in the think boxes, it's like, but I finally realized it's all right if we don't get married. And he's like, oh, there it is. And it's like an after hours phone call and stuff. And the think boxes are like, and now that I've accepted it, my dreams come true just because of some paparazzi rag. Is this fate or the demon lord's curse? And she's like, I can't tell which. And her heart is going thump thump. And Takumi's like, I'm pushing the button. And she's like, but whatever it is, I'm glad. And it goes ding dong. And there's a click and someone goes, yes? And he's like, we'd like to register for a marriage license. And Hachinana is like, sorry for coming so late. And the person is like, yes, I'll buzz you in. And then they look at each other and they're smiling like, this is happening. And now we're back in the narration. And it says, hey Nana, I used to hear your songs in my head, like your punk version of Tentu Mushi no Samba. But now I can't hear anything. I wonder if you don't hear my voice anymore either. And that is the end of the chapter. And I think it's really cute. It's so cute how they are just doing the damn thing. And Takumi, I think, is actually really excited to get married in a way, even though he had to kind of sell them out a bit. I still think he's pretty excited about it. So it's good times. And and now the secret's out, and now they can go and do whatever they like in certain ways. So that's nice. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Again, this is going to become the regular here. I'm going to try to do as many of these episodes as possible within the month. And, yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Good night.